watered, and now I'm feeling all refreshed and stuff, so I'll keep going. Last I checked, it looked like they were taking questions. So that sounds interesting. Heard this guy ask if ballot images are important for audits.
Fluid situation, but I'm liking it.
Oh, okay. Here's a new
Linda
question.
from Colorado.
Hi, Linda from Colorado.
Is going to rock this, by the way. We are having a full forensic audit in Colorado, and we are going to audit all 50 states. Audit50.org. You can find the information out there.
All these people all fired up.
I actually wanted to ask a question about the ballots.
You want to ask a question about ballots?
Well, actually, I don't have many questions about them because I'm that smart. But what I really want to know is, we in Colorado started collecting any extra ballots that we have.
Sorry, I have to hook up.
So I voted in person, although I received 3 ballots at my home, one for myself, one for my husband, one for my son, who was of legal voting age. And we voted in person, so we have these ballots, and I just happened to hold on to mine because I thought, that election didn't seem quite right. So I held on to mine. So I have 2 that are unopened, 1 that's open. And I'm asking everyone to start holding on to those and gathering those in one place because Javon Pulitzer said that he'll need that sort of as a control. Like, this is what it came from the state, exactly folded this way, exactly enveloped this way. So I encourage anyone who has their ballot that was mailed to them, keep holding on to that sucker. You've already done it for 6 months or 8 months, and find the person in your state who is organizing this so that we can have those when a full forensic audit comes to your state, because we are going to have full forensic audits in every state of the United States of America. Amen.
Freedom!
All right. Hi, Dr. Frank. Excuse me, Dr. Frank.
Hi, Joe.
Hello, dear. My name is Janice Daniels. I'm from Michigan. I represent the election integrity force that's been intricately involved in Michigan, trying to make sure that we have transparent and trustworthy elections.
Oh, they took away 2 diplomats.
I'm with Patrick Kolbeck, yes, and we're very proud of Mr. Kolbeck. I can tell you he is a brilliant man. He deserves the national accolades that he's getting right now for what he's doing. But you were in the Antrim County case.
Yes, I was.
And I was watching that carefully, and there was so much evidence, data-driven, fact-based evidence, that when Judge Eisenheimer came up and said there was nothing to prosecute, it was shocking to me. Were you as shocked by that judge's decision in that case?
No.
You weren't.
No.
I wasn't shocked because I understood the ruling. So Bill Bailey was saying because his election was flipped. Once they discovered that the election was flipped, and the judge said, okay, you already got your remedy, and they fixed his remedy. So in other words, the standing, there's nobody who has standing anymore. DePerno was trying to say, yeah, but while we were doing this work with the Bill Bailey case, we also discovered all the same kind of fraud taking place in all the neighboring counties, and we want to continue investigating. The judge is saying that's not the lawsuit. The lawsuit is Bill Bailey suing for his situation, and that's been remedied. So guess what? The case is now moved. Goodbye.
How can that stand? How can that kind of decision stand?
Somebody has to file a case that says, we think there's been fraud in all these other counties, and we want to pursue that. And then that will be addressed with the political question doctrine. Did I discuss the political question doctrine with you guys already? I will say it again. Okay, so most of the lawsuits that you, around the country, they're answering, you hear this same thing repeated over and over again in the various media sources. They say there's no evidence, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. That's just not true. There's there's mountains of evidence, mountains of evidence. The question is, does it make it into court? And it doesn't make it into court for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, say Tim over here, my buddy Tim, let's say I think he voted twice. So I can go to court and I can say, hey judge, I think Tim voted twice. And the judge will say, let's have a court case. And so we'll have the case, I present the evidence, and the evidence is evaluated in court, and he's either acquitted or convicted. Boom, okay, that's a case that the court will take. But if I go to the court and I say, I think your whole election's been corrupted, and here's a whole bunch of reasons why I think that, the judge will say, that's not the kind of case we take. That's a political question. The whole election's been corrupted. That's a political question. You have to take it to the legislature. That's called the political question doctrine. That's a well-established precedent. And so the problem is then, so they won't take that case. So in other words, there's no way to get it into the law and to get that evidence into the lawsuit because they won't take that case. It has to go to the legislature. Does that make sense? And then the legislature has to say, they have to put together committees and evaluations and bring in technical people and say, oh yeah, we've been corrupted this way and this way and this way. We take action. So that's why you're hearing over and over again, well, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. Well, here's another thing. If people say to you there's no evidence, just say, yes, there is. Here's Dr. Frank's evidence in the Inter-Michigan case, because that's officially entered into the record. That's one example. And Dr. Shiva, who's going to be here today at 3 o'clock, by the way. Mike's going to be interviewing Dr. Shiva here at the table at 3 o'clock. He can say there's plenty of evidence for him, and that's in the court case. So to say there's no evidence is simply false. Yeah. Are you ready, Mark?
So I think we may have this
later
working now. We may have one more question.
You want another question?
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. Okay, Ron, can you hear us?
Good. Are we doing one more question, Dr. Frank?
We'll get you.
We don't hear Ron.
Yes, I can hear you. Test, test.
Okay. So, where are all the cyber guys? Are you guys all in the room?
Are the cyber guys?
Oh my gosh, the cyber guys. There's the moms and the cyber guys that I keep hearing about.
Can we go round up the cyber guys because we're back up?
Phil, can someone go get the cyber guys?
Because we're back up. Thank you, Mark. Were we really being hacked?
It looks like it.
It looks like it, okay. Wow.
Yep.
So we're about to have an emergency broadcast system test too. That'll be fun too. We'll see how that works. Welcome to the real world. Worst case, you walk out of here with a strategy and not enough data yet, but we'll work on that.
Make sure all my units are upgraded as much as possible.
Hey Josh, can you pull up the images, the before and after image, so we can switch back and forth between them? Or even have them maybe side by side?
No, they're good.
Where's Josh? He's in another room?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had Josh up here. He's now somewhere else out in cyber world.
Should we take another question from the floor?
Ask Mark. That's a great question. He's busy right now. Yeah. Okay, I'll take a question from Jim Price, Kansas. He's the one who taught me to say, I stand with all patriots.
Thank you, Doctor. I have worked on the affidavit for the state of Kansas and have gotten lots of signed and notarized copies back to get started. I had a question about the cell phone cards that are in some of these boards, or in all these boards. Wouldn't there be a ping pattern or an address that where these were pinging to certain cell towers, and then where that information flowed from? Wouldn't that also be another data point that we could be able to verify that these have been talked to?
That's a brilliant comment. So we had a team that was we had a member, one person who, you know how they do these dog and pony shows where they say, come and look how secure our election systems are, and they invite you in and they show you everything, that dog and pony show. Some of you have probably had to endure those. So one of our guys went on one of these dog and pony shows, and he just put a frequency analyzer and ping device in his back pocket. And as they walked through the entire building, he just left it in his pocket. And he came out of the building and looked, and he had pinged absolutely every one of the machines, and it answered. So yes, that's another way to get evidence. It's just the machines themselves are saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and you ping that, that's called pinging that. You can just, yes, you're detecting that they are wanting to connect to you on the internet. Yeah, good point.
And also, if you are in the state of Kansas, we need those affidavits signed and returned.
All right, so Jim has asked me repeatedly to please ask you, if you know anybody in Kansas, please get them to sign his affidavits. He's getting together a big pile of them. Did I do you justice?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. TheJimPriceShow.com. Please get those to me as soon as you can, and I will get those to our Senate in September. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, thanks. What are we looking at?
So, Ron, what have you found so far? Do you see anything peculiar?
I'm just looking through config files, and it looks to be some kind of web server.
Let's see, sir, you had a question, right?
And
hold on, I'm going to pass the mic here. I got someone that wants to ask a question about date and timestamps.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I'm looking at, not on this screen, but on some of them the date was 9/23/2016 as the date modified. Wouldn't that be within this, like right there? Wouldn't that be within the 90-day safe harbor on these election machines that they're not supposed to be? I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm not a tech person.
Okay. Well, that date modified is just the date modified of that file, which could have been
Why am I
the
so
date it was
bright?
created. Let's see, where is that file,
Supposed to be
Ron?
this bright.
that is in the admin scripts of INET-pub.
Okay,
So it used to be some kind of web server.
so that was probably
Figure
the
that
date
out.
that the operating system was installed. So that's probably not anything peculiar. But this adsutil.vbs is a little bit interesting. Can you look at that adsutil.vbs and let's look at it and see what date it was modified?
Go back one screen.
So there it is. So 6/10 of 2019.
Wait, what is this? What's this say right here?
So what we see here is the date of this file and the text below says 7/24 of 97.
And scroll down a little
That's
bit. I noticed
extremely
another language.
old code. And if we scroll down a little bit, this Visual Basic code. Scroll up just a little bit on that, Ron. Okay, so it says IIS administration utility that enables the configuration or metabase properties, supported commands,
Yeah.
IIS administration utility that enables manipulation with ADSI parameters. And so it looks like it allows you via this INET-pub folder is a folder used by the web server that is built into this operating system, which means you can connect to it over the network. And it looks like there are some commands in here that allow you to create in-process applications, out-process, pooled process, delete applications, disable applications, and enable applications. Create directories, stop web servers, websites. Ron, do you think there might be any exploits in this code? Is there anything about this adsutil.vbs?
A 1997 web server? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there is, but a 1997 looks to be like a web server from 1997. Probably has some bugs in it.
Go back to the top
I
of
mean,
this one
I
again.
don't know if it does or not, but
There were revision dates on there. 07, 98, 98, 99. This old software.
yeah.
This is old software. This is 13-year-old.
Yeah, I don't know why we have software or code that is this old on a server that's supposedly this new. That's a little frightening.
The date modified could just be when it was copied. Not
So
necessarily
let's
when
look
it
at
was
some of these other folders. I see a logs folder in the INET-pub, and this would be a logs folder for any communications that come in to the web browser on the server. Let's look at log files. What's in there? Okay, so I see a bunch of file slack. So what the file slack is, the hard drive stored data, or the operating system stores data on a hard drive in a chunk, and the chunk size is the same. The file might be smaller than that, so what's left over up to the size of the chunk is called slack. So there may or may not be important information in there, but the important information I want to look at are these log files, and these seem to be the log files for the web server that are running on this server. And let's open up some of these log files and see what's in there. So these are connections to this web server over the network, and it looks like it is a connection. I just saw 80. It looks like port 80, which is unencrypted.
Mark, it's a connection to the web server. That's obvious. How is it connected to the web server? Is that indicated in this file?
This is a log file that the web server creates when something connects to it.
Right, and so, but it doesn't say how it connected. Is it a hard connection or a Wi-Fi connection?
We can look at the log file to determine where it's coming from, and if we look at these, here Ron, slow down a little bit, so we can just look at one of these here. Let me get a pointer, just so people kind of understand what we're looking at. So these are different fields here, kind of like you'd see in Excel. You have different columns,
right.
But this is just a text file. And the field names are right here. So we have a date, a time, we have a source IP. And so here's our date, here's our time, here's our source IP. And this looks like possibly an IPv6 address. And then we have...
I need another
That's what
builder.
by port, the port.
And then we
that
have...
could be a Wi-Fi port or it
this
could be a
probably
hard port.
A maybe connecting IP here.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
right.
that looks to be different. So it looks like it's coming from a different system than the source, which would probably be a computer on the network there. Or an external computer. Now I see some file manager, remote file manager. I don't know why there would be code in here that's titled remote file manager when you shouldn't be remotely doing anything with any files on these systems. So that's curious.
Very curious, yeah. Rank choice style.
Okay, now that's odd. Ranked choice style. Why is there a ranked choice style program here, or reference, in this
I'd like
log
to see
file?
before you leave this, there are some files there, the 10/19/2020, there's a log file, there's a 10/29/2020, there's a log file, and there's another one, 9/24, there's a log. In other words, there's
This one.
and look at there's an 11/2 log too.
Is Tina here? Does anyone know if Mesa County uses ranked choice voting? That's something we should look into. Because if they don't use ranked choice, why is it referencing ranked choice?
I don't think it does. So this is a log from September of 2020, before the election. You know, the cutoff to be able to add people to the registration was usually a month ahead or something like that. And so this is being right before the cutoff. I'm curious what's in these logs.
Yeah, and it
It's
goes
a big
back.
log.
Let's sort it by date modified, and let's
Yes.
see
Yes.
what the oldest file is in this folder. Okay, so we have logs going back to what date?
That's 2019.
Okay, 6/10 of 2019, and what do they go up to? What date? What's the most recent log?
This year in May.
May 23rd.
May 23.
Okay, so that's a lot of logs. That's what, 3 years or so of log files. Now let's open up the image, the second image that was obtained of the system right after the Dominion employee was there. Can we open that up?
Which date? Which date is that?
Yeah, Josh, I don't know if you can just open up another like FTK imager, I guess is the program, and let's
okay.
open the other E01 file.
What date was the employee there? What was the date the employee was there?
The employee was there.
I don't-
Tina? Is Tina here? And do we have the date that the Dominion employee was there in the office? What do you say? 25th? Okay.
Which month?
May 25th. was the date the Dominion employee was there. So Ron, let's open up another FTK imager program.
Yeah, let's let Josh do that because it's his machine. I don't want to.
Mesa does not use ranked choice voting. No reason that
All
should
right.
be on.
And I just got a notice here from Tina. Mesa County does not use ranked choice voting yet.
I just got that, yeah.
It's being proposed. So I don't know why there was a reference to ranked choice voting in these previous log files, which is also very concerning. So Ron, were you able to open up another FTK?
No, I want Josh to do that because it's his machine. I don't want to go around his like.
I can't hear you, Ron.
Hello, test.
Hold on.
Test.
Hey Ron, hold on a second. I think Josh is going to try to do it for you.
Okay.
Wait a minute, that was 11-3. That was the election.
Yeah, remote file manager on the election.
That's election day.
Posting. It's a post. So that means they're updating something.
That's access on election day.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it
check
looks
the
like
time.
on
9 o'clock.
election day, there is some log here about remote file manager on this server. Now that does not necessarily mean...
And it's a post. It's a post.
And it's a post, so it's looks like it's possibly putting
And it's
information on the
200
server.
okay.
And successful.
It's
And there are
connecting
200
to the election
okays.
immediately after the election.
It looks like there may be something indicating that there was some type of a connection from some system to this server. That's our cyber guys would be really good at helping us look at this. But that's
Where's
concerning.
this code? Where can we find this SOAP file?
That's going to be in the virtual directory. There's got to be some virtual directory associated with IIS,
Sure.
the web server.
You know what it looks like? It
Sure.
looks like it was on before the election and on after the election, but it was off during the day. That's what that looked like. Go back to that.
Okay, sure. Which one? Logs?
Tell Mark.
There's more logs.
Hold on, let me give you Mike.
I need to see the remote file management service page that you put up here. You had it up there a minute ago.
You know what he's asking?
You had the remote
which one
file
it is.
management service SOAP page up here.
It was a log.
The I think it was 6. Was it 11/20/20/00?
Okay.
I need to see the IPv6 addresses.
It's here. Oh, yeah, you can see if there are. Okay, which one was it?
Yeah, there you go. That's the one I need. Here. There you go. Keep that up for a second, please.
Okay.
Did he get what he wanted?
Hold on, they're looking at it right now.
Yeah, I know where this is going.
Come on up.
Yeah, if you want to come sit, take the mic.
No, I don't work at VMware. I'm one here is
Speak whatever you like, folks.
So
Can you give him the
I want to
pointer?
explain what everybody's looking at here.
Here's a pointer. There's a green pointer on it. Right here. Right here. There's a pointer.
Up here, what you're looking at is IPv6 addresses. IPv6 addresses, if a box is not hardened properly, i.e. a server, they will leave IPv6 enabled. There are certain areas where you want to leave IPv6 enabled so that it can communicate with other machines on different applications and ports. Over here, we have EMS Application Server Remote File Manager, SOAP. This is a web front end running on this box that is being communicated to. If you look at this IPv6 address over here, it is not identical to this box here, this address. Somebody is communicating to this server across that web front end to this box. That's all I got.
Well done. So Mark, this is like cool stuff, and can we post a link online that allow all these hackers, such as this gentleman here, the ability to download this and do this?
I don't even know where the stuff is. We're looking at it.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know where it is. I don't know how to even go about sharing it or anything like that.
Okay, got it.
I'm just
I
looking
was
at
told,
it. This
I
is
was
very
told this is
interesting.
public data. I
Was
was
that
told
wrong?
this is public data and that
Because that's really big what he
it may be possible to share the link,
the machine
but
being accessed over the
because
over the network,
we just got it through public data, from what I understand.
right? Didn't he just show it being accessed over a network?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, there's so much here. It really is going to be a very fun days or weeks to go over it as an IT person, especially cybersecurity guys. There should be cybersecurity guys looking over all this intently because there's a lot
I
of
want
very
to
suspicious.
find this SOAP file. Where do we get that SOAP file?
Let's look
Is there any way to
at the
search
folder
this?
structure. Look down in the folder structure and let's see what other folders we have. Keep going down. Maybe there's a
Okay, well-
folder where this program is.
Perhaps in here.
Hold on.
somewhere.
Whoa. Look at virtual directories. What is that? Where's my pointer? Can you give me the pointer?
Oh, there it is. Bin.
So it's possible, actually, yeah, virtual directories, EMS application server. So that's probably where those files are referenced.
Error logs.
Interesting. All right, what's in the error logs, and what are the date and times of these error logs?
And that, by the way, that
No.
522, that's right before.
Someone else got Broadway.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right before the Dominion employee showed up, there's a bunch of error logs, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron, are you able to pull up another FTK imager?
I probably am able to, but I don't want to because it's not my machine.
Oh,
and
okay.
I don't want
So-
to accidentally open something I shouldn't.
I think Mark just said something important for those out here, and that is you notice that we're going through file by file, exploring. We're still kind of learning the way everything's laid out, and Mark said this could be weeks of work for an expert.
Yeah, this is going to take some time for people to look over, and none of our voting system, the software used in our voting systems, should not be something that the entire public can't look over and scrutinize.
Yeah.
These are just counting machines. That's all they do is they count votes.
Why do we need all this?
I don't understand why this isn't even open to the public.
Right.
I don't understand why these companies don't just say, here,
Yeah.
if we're going to use these systems to basically completely control your lives, here is everything. Complete
Yes.
open transparency. Here's how our code works. Please,
Yes.
everyone scrutinize it. Make sure that
Yes.
it's completely legitimate across the board. It's interesting, peculiar, that these companies would fight so hard to keep it secret. Nothing that we do in our voting system should be black box, right? Hey, Josh, right there. Josh. I can't get a hold of you. Stare, Josh.
Tedious, but typical for geeks.
You got Mike.
You know, you ever notice how software people never sleep? Because all night long, that's what they're doing. They're keep scrolling through files,
The other code monkey
exploring,
guy.
and
He's on a secure channel.
it's pretty normal. This is pretty normal.
Oh yeah, this is what I do.
This is what he does, exactly.
You're just looking for clues and then you put everything together.
Looking for clues and trying to compare, yes. Okay, so
It's like I'm scrolling fast, but I'm actually reading it, and I'm remembering the stuff where I'm seeing it, and then maybe I'll come across something later that references this, and then I'll jump back, and then that answers a question that we might have. So while we're waiting for Josh to come and open up this second container, I'm just going to keep looking around, and then ultimately I'm looking for those
hi. Come on up. I can hear you. I have good ears. I'm a musician.
Thank you so much. So I'm Senator Teresa Manzella from Montana, and I'm delighted to be here with the delegation of representatives. We have 6 representatives here from Montana, so I'm very proud of them for being here.
Me too.
And we are the lawmakers, and we want to create a transparent and accountable system. So reflecting back on the federal law that was quoted earlier by Colonel Waldron, Title 42, requiring records and ballots to be kept for 22 months.
Right. For all federal elections.
For all federal elections. Okay. Defining records at the state level to include this language that we're not familiar with because we're not cyber geeks.
Perfect.
What words should we be including in our law to define records?
Complete forensic records of all electronic devices. I guess they would say forensic images. Complete forensic images of all electronic devices. And backup before every update. Is that what you're saying? And backup copies before every update. You know, it's interesting you're asking this question. When I was visiting with the Secretary of State from Ohio, they said since they saw my work and realized that the database could be manipulated and changed, they started doing weekly backups of their state registration database. They had never done that before. Because if you think about it, if you do continuous backups, you can see changes and manipulations. Normally, if you talk to a Secretary of State, they'll say, well, it's a living document. It's always changing. And so if you think about that, okay, fine. It's okay if it's a living document. But the problem is that every day it's different. You have no way to compare yesterday to today unless you backed it up. And so it's sort of like it naturally hides all the activity that we're trying to catch. So once I brought it to the attention of the Ohio State Secretary of State, they started backing theirs up every week. And some states recognize this and automatically do backups every month. But if you're not doing that, that would be something else maybe to put in your legislation to require regular backups. Now, in the state of Wisconsin, I noticed that they have a policy where the counties report their databases once per month on the first of every month. The advantage of that is that there's always a backup at the county, but there's a problem with that too. I would include, if you were writing legislation, that they have to give you a complete record on election day as well. Everybody who voted and everybody who is registered. Because, for example, in the state of Wisconsin, we caught them because they had same-day registration. Imagine you report on November 1, then on November 3rd, you same-day register a bunch of people who vote, and then they're removed before the next reporting time, and so there's no way to capture who those people were, and I'm telling you, that's a walk right there. Okay, that's a heck of a walk list. So you should require regular backups, but then also a full record on election day, who voted, and not just who voted, but also who was registered as well. And a lot of times they'll say, well, those are inactive records. You need to know who's actively registered and who's inactively registered. You want a complete list of both. And I've noticed that a lot of states hide that from you. And why would you hide the inactive registration? Because guess what? That's your credit line you pull on when you need it. Are you agreeing with that? Is that what that figure was? Yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's sort of like, and that's how the Secretary of State was in Michigan was able to just say, oh, we need more voters, fine. I'll just go back and take these 6 out of their very handy and convenient 650,000. Boom. Yeah, by executive order. Well, I'm not sure it was like an official executive order. She just did it by executive authority. If that, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology. I'm a scientist, not a legal geek. Make sense? So maybe my executive order is the wrong term. If so, by executive authority at least, how about that? You're here, boss. You're just looking. Look at no. How good he's comparing the before and after images. Oh, this is handy. They're comparing the before and after images of the same machine in Mesa County. By the way, where was that county clerk from? Is that a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. Yeah. And these images that we have were posted somewhere on the internet. So they became public knowledge. And once they became public knowledge, that's when the Secretary of State got very concerned. Yes, sir.
Most of my experiences with financial systems, payroll, human resources, accounting systems, most organizations back this stuff up every night. Why don't they back up the voter records every night?
Why don't they back it up every night? For example, in your financial systems, when you say you back it up every night, do you keep those every day, or just you kind of wash them over time?
You keep them, say, for 30 or 60 days, so you can go back anytime for 30 or 60 days.
I would agree with that.
Then maybe once a month you keep one for years on end.
And it may be true that the state systems are backed up in some short-term version like that, but they, a lot of states I talk to, they say, well, the only record we really have is December 1. They don't give you what was on.
Okay, but for just disaster recovery purposes, they should be backing the stuff up.
I would 100%
on a daily basis. So what happens if there's a fire in the building?
They just don't save those backups.
Yeah.
It's like they override them. They cycle. Make sense?
But do they do that is the question, and they ought to do it every night, and then have off-site backups.
What I've learned is every state's different. So I don't know what
Every state should back these things up daily.
And permanent records weekly, I would say.
Yeah.
Or monthly at the minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum. Monthly,
and then an extra backup on election day.
Oh yeah, before and after.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Navy.
Okay. All right. So what we have here.
The first thing we don't have that's the same is the logs.
Well, Ron, let's explain this first, okay? So on the left, so everyone understands, is the before image. Before the Dominion employee was
Dominion
at
update.
the election management server, before he walked in the door, that's what we're looking at on the left. What's on the right is what the server looked like. It's a snapshot, like a copy, after the Dominion employee left.
Where's the logs file?
So what we're going to do is we're going to look between the left and the right, the same folder, and I'm curious, what is in that logs folder?
Boom, boom, boom. Above OFM, on this side, there's a folder named logs, and above OFM on this side, that's gone.
So the logs folder is gone. So after the Dominion employee left, this logs folder It's disappeared. Now here's another thing I'd like to do. Ron, in the inetpub log folder that we were looking at earlier, that had all that evidence of connections into the web server. So inetpub, and then go to the logs, Yep. Go to the log folder, the W3 SVC. Down, right there. Down a little bit. Do you see the W3? There you go. Now find that same folder on the image after the Dominion employee left. Now this is interesting. All these log files. How many log files do we have? Show them up on the left screen.
Looks like hundreds maybe on that side.
Right from 2019.
Okay.
Let's see here. 6/10 of 2019 up until what date? Up until 5/23 of
May
2021. Right?
Yes, up until 5/23.
Years of log files are here. Now let's look at that same folder on the right side. We only have 3.
No.
3 years of log files are mysteriously gone. So when that Dominion employee walked in, when they left, all those log files were gone.
And the log files are recording all of the access to that machine.
Those log files record all of the access to that machine through the web server, the web service that's running on that machine. That's just one set of log files. There's all kinds of log files all over the server that we need to look at, but that is pretty shocking that those are gone, because there would be no reason to delete those other than for someone not to be able to see what's in them. And from what I've heard, and everyone, maybe you guys can corroborate this, was Dominion sending people all around the country to do software updates on all of their servers right around this time? Yeah? I mean, raise your hand if you heard that, or that if you know that to be true. Okay.
I know that to be true.
And you have to be true as well. So it's very possible they were just sending people out there to do software updates and they accidentally deleted all these, or it's possible they maliciously did it. We don't know.
At the minimum, you just showed evidence that when the software update was performed, all of the logs were deleted. You just proved that.
All those log files that we see on the left were absolutely not there on the right side, which would indicate they are no longer there on the server.
They were deleted. And that right there,
We have a
that
question.
already is forensic evidence right there. Boom.
Does your image include the deleted files portion of the disk?
Is there what?
The deleted files, normally they're
Hold
still
it
on the
closer.
disk.
Hold it closer.
The normally deleted files
Yes.
are still
I think those
actually
are
on the disk and can be recovered. Does this image include that space on the disk?
That would have to, you have to do a data recovery on that. Find
Yeah.
it.
It has
Isn't
that.
that under the
Is that
orphan
something
folder?
we have started or will start to see if we can get it?
This is we're just looking at
Yeah.
these right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean I just learned how to use FTK Imager last night.
I'm just wondering how well they covered their trail, if they just
Okay,
deleted it or if they wiped it.
Let me explain to everybody what the question just meant. He just said, look, if you've ever noticed when you delete a file on a computer, it's really not deleted. It's still got an image on the disk. All that's happened is the path, the address of where that file is has been deleted. And if you have good software, you can go back onto a disk, and if you have the right software, you can go back onto a disk and recapture the deleted files.
Sometimes
So he
you
was just
can.
asking, have we done that to try to find those deleted files? Am I correct? Perfect. Okay, I'm just explaining so everybody knows
So,
what just happened.
I have another question too, Code Monkey. Hello, this is Matrix. What's up, brother? Need to correlate IPs and the amount of times for remote file manager. What about the SOAP call database? Dig into the
Yeah,
SOAP
I don't know
calls.
where it is. I'm not a Windows admin, so.
Wait, Ron answered that. What did he say?
Hey, if you guys can keep the chatter down a little bit, just so we can make sure we hear Ron well. I
Just
appreciate that.
everybody get a little quieter. Just a little bit.
We're working with Pat and Mert. So the remote file management, the SOAP, they can actually tell if there's a database communicating to another IP.
Yes, we noticed that.
Do you know where it is?
I was wondering if we found any results into that.
Wonder if what?
We found any results into that. So that IP, wherever the IP is calling, waiting to execute some API file to call to manage something, in the file system. could they do that via the SOAP? So
Could they accomplish?
I mean, probably, but where is that file? Do you know?
I can get back to you on that. I'll text it to you.
What's that?
Okay.
So Mark, we had a question from a couple of the cyber analysts out here, or maybe somebody could answer. If the server is re-imaged, will those recovered files still be there if they re-image the server?
Generally not. Depends on how completely they image it. But usually an image will overwrite everything.
Yeah.
That's correct. You might get a little bit, but you're most likely going to overwrite all of.
Oh,
the
thank you.
space
Your
that the
worst
files
nightmare.
take
Keep up the good
Right.
work.
And when you do a
Brandon
full
G
image,
says,
and
I'm
it
checking
looks
out
like
Cyber Symposium
they have done a
streams. What do you
full
think
image
about it?
wipe
I don't know.
of
It's pretty
it. So
dry. It's kind
that
of
means
interesting
they would
though,
delete
especially
the
I guess
entire
last night they had some
contents
lady
of the
come in
drive
talking
and
about how they
overwritten
had
that
leaked
contents of the whole
passwords, I
new
guess,
image.
right before
If they were
the
just
right
making a
before the
change to
election.
software like a patch,
So I mean, yeah.
it would be strange not to just install the patch.
Right.
Because when you update your computer,
Right. You don't
every
wipe
time you
your
go to
whole
Windows
disk.
Update, it
Yeah.
doesn't wipe your whole computer and start over
Right.
again.
Right.
It just installs the one patch.
Mark,
so
go
what would be
ahead.
convenient is
Looks like they're
if
obviously
I
having
wanted
tech
to
issues a lot though.
make sure I would deleted a whole bunch of files if I wanted to do that. What I might do is say I'm going to install a patch that requires a full new image.
Yeah.
That would be a very convenient side effect
Boom.
in order to delete all these
Boom.
files.
And it looks to you like that's what took place. Why do you suspect that?
Well, it looks like there was a new image, and it looks like
Boom.
the result of the new image wiped everything else.
So it's a good way to clean up your traps.
Right. So if anything is left, it would be by chance left in the free space on the drive that just didn't happen to get overwritten.
It would be almost impossible to recover all the data. In fact, it would be improbable to be able to recover some of it even, probably.
Right.
Okay, so it looks like the update process includes basically an erase of everything. It's not merely just updating software.
It's overwritten, yeah.
It's
In a way that it would be very difficult to recover what was
Boom.
there before.
So it's a good
Right.
wash.
And so you guys can translate this, but if they really wanted to cover their tracks completely and have complete anonymity on everything before, they could do a boot and nuke and then re-image.
Oh, absolutely, and that would be the way to do it.
We don't know if they did that though.
We haven't proven that yet, though. I don't
Yes.
think.
We don't know that.
But that would be a good thing to prove.
Now, Mark,
It'd
if
be a great thing to
if
do.
we got the images, and I believe one of the rooms next door had them, and I think we're trying to get them to the second room. How would they validate if it was a nuke or a totally new image?
Right.
How would that process work?
Well, you'd have to look at the slack space on the drive that hasn't been written on yet and see if there's any recoverable deleted files. And that would tell you whether they completely wiped the drive from front to back before they started re-imaging. But if there were any deleted files that could be recovered with the recovery software in that slack space, then you would know that they didn't nuke it first before they re-imaged it.
Would that be something that the guys next door could look at as far as file allocations?
Yeah, with the right tools. I'm assuming we have, guys in
Somebody
the room that have
somebody
the
might
tools,
have
yeah.
them.
And
Okay.
those tools are readily available. They can be downloaded and installed if we need them.
All right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more questions than there are answers when we look at this, and it certainly warrants further investigation. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ron, can you hear us on that end?
Yep.
So
What's that?
I know with Antrim County, we had a very limited time to do that initial report. What's the best estimate of the amount of time that would have to take to do a full analysis of these two server images and come up with a delta between the two?
Generally, I would allot a couple of weeks, really, to do everything, to really have a full report.
Ron?
Okay.
Tell us
Yeah,
your
I
first-
agree.
Tell us your first name again.
My name?
Yeah.
Jerry Wood.
Jared. Okay, so he just taught us something. He said generally it would take a couple of weeks to do this process thoroughly. We only just became aware of these 2 days ago, yes, and or came into our possession. Let's put it that way. Two days ago. So we've got a couple of weeks of work, but already we've learned something. We've learned something very important. We've learned that when the Dominion person arrived, that before he arrived, there were a whole bunch of logs dating back to over a year.
At least 3 years.
At least 3 years of dating back. And then after he left, doing the update, all of those logs were deleted. But it wasn't merely a delete. It appears to be, we're going to prove this, we haven't proven it yet, it appears to also be a wash of the entire disk.
It very well may be.
Not merely just replacing a file or two. We actually deleted the disk to clean it off and then put a new image on. It looks like that. We're not sure about that yet. Yes?
Yeah, and the scary thing about that is everyone already knows there's contention regarding the election anyway, so preservation of records is already absolutely critical.
Already.
Why on earth would a company like Dominion go in there and then purposely delete data?
Exactly.
That are the records that are the duty of the clerk or county officials to preserve that data.
And especially the logs, which are the connection logs. That's what the logs are so important. They say, okay, on this day at this time, this computer connected to this computer and did this.
Yes, if there was any intrusion or a malfeasance,
that's where it would be.
That would be right there.
Yes, and that's what's.
And now that evidence is gone.
Yes.
And the odd thing also is, why on earth, when they heard about this, would they raid the office? What is there to hide? These are our elections.
Oh, you're talking about Mason County raid yesterday.
County. They raided their office.
Yes.
Right? And they're trying to attack the clerk that's responsible for all
right.
this.
All right.
Mark, can I ask Ron a question? So we got the image on the
No,
left.
sorry.
We got the date on that image. We can look and see when all the updates to that server were done.
Oh, good idea.
Prior, right? So we know what they did in the past, right?
And see if they also imaged it at the same time, which they didn't.
So we can compare that because we've got logs of that. So, Ron's scrolling through.
Mark, could you get that up?
Yeah. So Ron, the question is, so we've got an image on the right, which is the update, the image update. We've got the image on the left, which was the backup. We can look at the image on the left and see how many times that this server was upgraded.
That's
and how
huge.
it was upgraded.
Yeah.
We can look at pattern analysis. Right?
And how come every time they updated it before they didn't wash the disk?
Right.
But this time they did.
Why did they wipe it this time and they didn't then?
And that's exactly. I think that's very important.
That's kind of what. So that's what
Where's the update information?
Say that again, Ron.
Where's the updated?
Where would the update log be?
It depends on how they're updating him. If what we need to do is look to see, we need to ask the county when Dominion showed up to do updates, and then correlate that. If they showed up to do updates before 2019,
agreed,
and they did updates
without washing
it, it's certainly curious why on May 25th they decided to wipe it right when we're in the middle of what we're all in the middle of.
Exactly. It was like they just said, hey,
and the county doesn't know because the only one that has the keys to all this is Dominion.
Yeah.
I don't understand why a private company like Dominion is running our voting system.
No, and what I don't understand is why our secretaries of states, why our legislatures go to these companies and say, oh, by the way, we just completely trust you and hand over the election to them. And by the way, they sign non-disclosures when they do. They're not even allowed to look at the proprietary software. They're just saying, we trust you.
I would think the Secretary of State would stand up and say, hold on, I need to make sure the citizens' vote actually counts. Why is the Secretary of State not investigating Dominion? Why are they investigating our actual citizens and not the companies that may be very well responsible for manipulating our elections? I don't understand that.
Hey, Ron, why are they investigating
Ron,
Tina from Mesa instead of saying, hey, Dominion, what the heck are you doing here?
Hey, Dr. Frank, hold tight just a second. Ron, can you tell everybody what you were clicking on and what you're looking for? Because I am probably here with the great majority of the folks. That looks kind of like Mike said, that's the gibberish that most people don't understand. What are you clicking on and what are you looking for? And I can help you.
Right now, this is the Dominion voting system adjudication client. And this is where the adjudication system, this is like the program that does the adjudications. And I don't think we can run the program because of the way this is set up, but we can look at the config files. So something I'm looking for here is whether or not there's like a setting or something for the adjudication client to be connected remotely. Because there was a lot of like people saying, oh, the adjudications are done remotely, but we don't know that for a fact. But we might be able to find a clue or information that it is a fact. I don't know.
Ron,
Okay, I got
are you
one more-
seeing anything
I got one more question. Okay, go ahead. sorry.
Ron, related to all that, as you're looking through all of that, are you seeing any indication what technologies were used to create those services that we're seeing access logs to? So there were SOAP-based web services that were being accessed on the machine. Are you able to tell where those files are on the hard disk, if they exist, and what technologies they were used so that perhaps they could be reverse engineered?
Adjudication client, what's the heck? That's important.
I'm still looking for those SOAP files. That's
I'd
the
love
most
to run
important
that.
for me to find.
Hey, the
Does
question
anyone
is,
know if you can
we'll get in a minute.
search on FTK Imager?
Ron, did they delete the adjudication client?
Probably not. Let's try.
Trying to work it.
I think all that is that's an adjudication client.
It's gone. It's gone, yeah.
Yeah, it's an executable. That's
It's
why I'm
in here.
interested. Yeah, that's the config
Hold
file.
on,
I
look
agree.
at the adjudication client. It's
Yes, sir.
probably there.
Yeah, so Ron, you're clicking at the speed of light, and most of our brains operate like 3 or 4 levels below that. So click and explain just a little bit slower, and then we got one more question.
Well, I thought you guys were talking about something important.
It would be
Okay, well,
nice to see the
I'm
config.
looking at
There's a
what seems to
config
be
that does the adjudication
TCM
client. The
logs.
configuration is probably where they adjust the adjudication parameters. I would like to see what those are. Would you like to see that?
So this looks like the
And that- if that's been
installation,
deleted now, that would be interesting.
server installation logs.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
But I'm not exactly sure if it is or not. That's what it says though. Standard server installation work group.
We might have to execute it on an actual machine, which we have.
Yeah, if we could get this on an actual machine, we could like run the adjudication software and see what it does.
That's a good point too, legislators. Notice that here we are as software people looking at these screens and saying, what did they add, what did they delete? We'd like to know what some of these routines actually do when they run, but you can't run them except
they're all
on the
black
system
boxes.
they're designed to run on. So we should have, if I were the Secretary of State of a state, I'd have one of each of the machines. Well, I wouldn't have any machines, I'd have all paper. But if I was doing this now, I'd have each of the machines and I'd have the software, and I would be able to test every routine that's on there on the machine and see what they actually do.
Hey, where's the Internet Explorer, like, or the Internet Explorer cache is stored?
Internet port?
Because if they were using Internet Explorer to access websites, then there would be a cache.
Oh, what a good idea.
In
Look
that
under,
case, we proved that they were...
like the hardware manager.
I'm not really a Windows admin, so I don't really know where the locations of these files are.
Double backflip.
But
You got a question? You want to come back and ask a question? No, what? You want to come back and ask a question? Okay, we got one more or two more questions from the audience. Hey, Mark, you and Doug have to, Mark.
Fielding a call.
Hey, sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right, question.
Hi, Mark. My name's Kirk Wiebe, retired National Security Agency.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Excellent work. Every finding you're making here about dates changed or missing files indicates manipulation, either purposeful and good or bad. Every manipulation of a voting machine indicates absolute requirement to be recertified. Right. So if you can do a chronology as you discover these, match them up with, was there a recertification? And if there is not, the election is being performed illegally.
Correct.
On a non-certified.
Correct.
Yes. That's
Well
all.
done.
Yeah.
The point he just made is every time you do an update, you know how you have on your computer when you run Windows, every once in a while it comes up and says, doing a Windows update? Okay. Every time there's an update on any of these systems by law, the machine has to be recertified by law. Is what he just pointed out, and I know that's true. Because you can't certify that a machine is working right, and then on the side you do a software update. It might not be doing the same thing anymore. It might be, so they have to recertify it. Yeah,
I've heard, and I don't know the reference, but there's
not entirely
a
true.
safe harbor time before the election that no updates can be made in the safe harbor period. So somebody that's schooled in that may have an exact reference or what that time frame looks like. So hey, you guys, if y'all got a question, let's get you on the mic so they can hear you on the feed, and so that Ron can hear you, because he can't hear the sidebar conversations from the stage. So another question, conversation.
Hello everyone. Hi Mark, Dr. Frank. Thanks for your hard work. My name's Jeff Bongiorno, and I own a Microsoft consultancy for over 23 years. And just one thing that kind of sticks out and kind of jabs me in the gut is we do updates all the time for customers, and we never ever show up at their door and take control of their machine. Either it's automated or we'll send it out as a file. So there's some definitely, it's just obvious. I mean, we know the whole thing is suspect, but that alone just should be in question. When do you go to a client to update their software? And in 23 years, probably never, in my case. So just wanted to kind of get that out there.
You know, I was thinking, it's possible that the reason that office got raided is because they were trying to make sure that this information didn't get out. Because why else would you raid the office?
And one more thing, if they were doing an update for one machine, did they do an update for all of the machines? What's the version number? What's the data? What was the update about? Where's the link? Where's the knowledge base article for that update? It's just
there should be reason behind it, but it's all, there's just so much smoke here.
Right.
There's a fire.
Yeah.
There's no way you could have this much smoke in so many different places all across the country with not just Dominion, but other voting systems as well. The entire structure of our elections, everyone up in arms, something is wrong. There's no question. And they are blocking every attempt at anyone trying to figure out what it is that's wrong. That is kind of peculiar also.
What did Ron think about my question about looking at the config files, the hardware configuration file? It might be in the Windows.
Poke around. I'm gonna run around. I gotta take care of something. You guys.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah, where is it?
If you could look at the Windows config file for the hardware and see what hardware is installed on the machine, wouldn't it be interesting to see the configuration files for the hardware? And what if it's right there that you've got different modems installed in the hardware? That would be interesting. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, do you know where that's located? This question.
Okay. I mean, normally you have to run the little hardware manager in Windows.
So, Doug, I got another question from the audience that says the Internet Explorer cache location that Ron is looking at is %, user file, // all that, temporary internet files. Ron keeps saying that he's not a Windows system admin, however, I am. Please ask if they use RegShop to compare the files and registries. So Ron, I'll answer that. You do not use any tools. We mentioned at the first, we're literally just putting these files side by side to do an initial look. And this audience and this organization is really the first time that we've looked at it. I'm sure that will be something that we pull a team together if we have the bandwidth to get it done in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure that'll be probably part of the process.
That's a fair comment. we have a lot, this is only
Yeah,
our first
yes,
time
and,
looking at it.
and the answer to that question is nothing has been done forensically to these files. We are literally just clicking through and looking and making observations this morning. So, but that's part of that 2-week process that we mentioned here just a second ago. And yeah, and as a Microsoft guys, you can answer that too. Oh, it was, they were just looking at the sysadmin files and the temporary files and asking if one particular process had been done. And I think nothing's been done yet.
Got it, yeah, it's time, needs some time.
Locus.
Yeah, it's time, you know, you said it, Colonel, time. I just had so what are we looking at? We don't have a copy of the virtual machine. This is just a data drive that was backed up.
Correct.
So we can't get into the registry, it's just data, and we're doing a comparison side by side.
We're doing, so this, what I understand, and Ron, you can correct me, this is a server image of the before and
Correct.
after.
Forensic image.
An image of a drive, but not the entire VM, not the entire virtual machine. We couldn't log out and log in.
I think it's the entire machine.
So you can get into the registry.
You can, but there's no tool. You can't use the tool to do it. You can just read the, like...
Yeah, look at the registry, good idea.
Well, how about go to add remove programs and look at the dates?
No, you can't, because we're just able to look at the file tree.
Because why?
You can only look at the file
We're just able to look at the file tree.
Okay, so it's not a full VM of the operating system.
Well,
right?
it's not mounted as a VM. It's currently mounted as just a file tree where we can read the file tree.
So, but you have the capability to mount it as a VM and log in, or you don't?
I think so, potentially.
And Mark, I think Mark had asked that same question earlier, and he had talked, you would have to do some extractions and...
Export.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need the password too to do that.
Oh, there you go, the passwords again. All right. Turn it back over to you.
Yeah.
All right. And I think somebody...
But it's easy to crack passwords.
I saw somebody over here that was... All right, Ron, just kind of give a verbal what you're looking for.
So, I'm looking for any kind of logs that might show it's connected to the internet somehow. I mean, I don't know if it is or not, but it'd be interesting to find something that says it is.
Wait a sec, wait, what's that cloaking enabled, what's that?
Where?
Cloaking enabled, what's that?
No idea.
Attempting to enable all disabled privileges?
Before installing? Yeah. Is this some kind of installation when the server was set up?
I'm not sure I've seen that cloaking
Ooh,
enabled.
I'm literally
but I'm
one
not
diplomatic
sure about that
victory point away from winning.
Yeah.
So
Stop.
let's give Tamara a gift.
So Ron, are you able to do a select all files and compare number and size to see the magnitude of the change in the files?
So that's, so these are the partitions. Before and after, and then before and after. So they added 2 extra partitions.
So partition 1 before was 500 megabytes, and partition 1 after was 128 megabytes. So
Correct.
372 megs difference.
You know, an interesting thing I just thought of is you could have multiple partitions on a hard drive, and you could command that computer to boot up to one or a different partition. You could actually have multiple operating systems on a single computer, and I don't understand why you need all these partitions.
They added 2 new partitions. Go back to the partitions over there.
Yep. Oh, they did. Yep.
There were 2 partitions before, right?
Yeah,
there
there's
are
2
4?
partitions before, and now there's 4 partitions.
Correct.
And they may have just changed the file structure or the partition structure in this, but it is peculiar. Someone needs to look into each of these partitions and find out what is on them, what data is on them, because you really don't need more than one to run a computer.
No, and they might be, for example, you could move one partition on one day and a different partition on another day.
But you could have a partition there that's set up that you can boot into that gives you a backdoor access into the other partition.
Boom, that's my point.
It would be completely
Well,
undetectable.
these partitions are really small though. It's only 300 megabytes. I mean, it's enough to run like certain files, and you could have something embedded in there. Awesome. So I'd really like to find the location of those SOAP files. Does anybody here know where to find the SOAP files?
Does anybody know where to find the SOAP files? The SOAP files? Did you search the registry? Can you search it? Control F?
I mean, it's just gonna be X.
Yeah, well, those aren't registry. In order to search the registry, what you'd have to do is you have to pull the registry files out of this container, and you'd have to open it up in a registry editor. So there's a lot more that can be looked with different tools. This is a very basic tool. We're basically looking at it from 20,000 feet right now.
Yeah.
But there's enough here that leads us to want to look very
Microsoft
deep
SQL Server.
in this.
Why is there a SQL Server on these machines?
What's in those MS SQL folders on the left, down below, at the bottom of the file tree? Go down. What's in each of those?
Different versions.
Oh, hold on. Go back. Look in data. What's in data? Go to data. Go to databases.
Databases. There we go.
Okay, scroll down.
Oh, that's interesting data.
So these must be all the databases for the votes.
Yeah.
There it is, 2020 Mesa County General Election.
I'd be interested to see what kind of data structure they use.
And look, let's see how far back it goes. Tabulation store, adjudicatable ballot store. Oh, there's a lot of elections on here. Look at that.
There's a municipal election on the 3rd. Oh yeah, look at, they're all there.
So let's check that same folder on the after the Dominion
Mark and
employee
Aaron
left.
thing. Yes, sir.
So y'all can see why this may take a little while to get actual results.
Is this right?
Data.
Well, seems
Wow, the
we got it.
databases folder is missing also.
They're all gone.
They're gone.
They deleted all the past SQL Server settings.
Yeah, the SQL databases are no longer there.
That's huge right there.
Can I ask you a question?
Because you're basically cleaning up how you interpreted the ballots in the past.
How on earth are clerks and officials supposed to keep 22 months of records if they walk in and delete everything? How do they do their job?
So there's a gentleman here, I'm going to put him on the spot, but Jim Marchand, he's running for Secretary of State of Nevada. So if you were the Secretary of State, how would you certify that your election was free, fair, and transparent if this was a situation that you found yourself in?
I'd hire you.
Oh no, please no.
And Mark.
So I mean, literally, how would a Secretary of State or how would a county election official be able to validate that they have accurate results, that they have certifiable elections?
They can't do it. There's no way. I'm a programmer.
And you're a programmer.
I'm a technology guy. This stuff is beyond me. So
There's no way they could do that.
Hey Jim,
And
is
that's
this
by design.
Jim? Is this better than PCAPs?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. Better than PCAPs. And don't we also have the PCAPs for these servers?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I heard something about that in the. Oh, I don't know either. But
what is that? Decryption by certificate?
These are the these are SQL files that update the schemas of the database and upgrade it. It's quite complicated.
So basically it looks like we've got evidence of connections from some other computers, which we haven't determined yet, to the election management server, which certainly requires much more investigation. We are pretty confident that we have seen deletion of a lot of files, log files, database files, and who knows what else that will take weeks to figure out. And then we've got code on here that looks like dated back in 1997, which I would be shocked if there was not vulnerabilities. But what needs to happen is these operating systems need to be looked at. Each of these files can be looked at, and there are catalogs of vulnerabilities for all these files that are very well known to the cybersecurity crowd, as well as Microsoft knows every file and every vulnerability that they've detected so far. It would be very easy to determine how many vulnerabilities are in each of these operating systems before and after. There needs to be a cybersecurity forensic audit of these servers without any question at this point. Would anyone else agree?
Mark, we have one question. Earlier, a gentleman over there, and I'm sorry I forgot his name. He was a 23-year Microsoft company. He said that he had never gone to a client's facility for an update. Jim just asked a question. Re-ask it.
Well, there's no way that a Secretary of State or probably any of their staff could do this after the fact. You know, they couldn't. You would have to have Dominion or somebody like that come in electronically or online and clear those files like they.
Oh, absolutely. And if anyone did do that, if an election official did that, they'd go to jail for tampering with this.
And so this update how was this update done again? I think Tina mentioned this. They actually came to her office of somebody from Dominion.
I heard that someone from Dominion was physically in the office.
Okay, I missed that part. So was that?
Yes. Are we talking about just the other day?
This update, whenever they did this update.
This update was done this spring, summer. We found out in Colorado that Dominion was going through the state and updating all of the machines. Once the citizens found out about that, we raised a stink, and people started going to the county clerk's and recorder's office. And what we heard was that there was one officer from the Secretary of State's office and then Dominion representatives, and they would go in as a team. And Dominion was coordinating all of the updates across the state. The state was divided up into.
Wait, so this wasn't just Mesa County, it was every county?
It was every county in Colorado. And we believe that there's still some counties that are getting updated now. They call it updated, but it's modification that they're loading in this software. It's called the Trusted Build. And, you know, we've been fighting with the Secretary of State and Dominion to find out when these updates have supposedly supposed to have been happening, and they've been hiding that information from the public.
I don't understand why our Secretary of State would allow a private company to go in and modify all of our election systems instead of protecting the citizens of Colorado. And I'm a Colorado citizen. I'm disgusted by this completely. And I don't even know what to say. We have to stop them from being able to do that. And who's running our elections? Does Dominion run our elections along with our secretaries of state, or are our election officials running them? They're the ones that are supposed to be running them.
The problem is that Griswold, Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, used the notion that the passwords from the Dominion machines had been posted online as her predicate to go raid the office. Unfortunately for Jenna, her office is the only one that has access to those passwords. The secretary or the county clerk, Jenna Griswold, Secretary of State.
So you're saying the Secretary of State is the only one that has the passwords?
Yes.
And she just claimed that they were posted online by Mesa County in order to raid their office?
She didn't necessarily say it was Mesa County that had posted them online. She didn't have a source for that, but she said the passwords had been...
But she used it as an excuse to raid the office, even though she's the only one that had the passwords.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's convenient.
It is convenient. And, you know, the other question I have is how do we know that Jenna Griswold, her office, didn't post those passwords as predicate to go?
They very well could have. Yeah.
How do we know this isn't a shot across the bow for other county clerks in Colorado to fall into line and not allow any access to the machines, to the ballots, to the envelopes in Colorado? How do we know that this isn't being directed by somebody else?
And what else did Jenna do a couple weeks ago? I saw something about her saying something about audits. What was that?
Yes, Jenna Griswold just, there was an original hearing scheduled for August 3rd for regular rules change. This is a normal course of business. Griswold changes election rules in between elections. But she claimed that there is an emergency predicate for calling for no third-party audits in Colorado. Unfortunately, that proclamation doesn't rise to the level of the law because she has not provided any basis for an emergency rules change.
Got it. So she's trying to stop any forensic audits anywhere in Colorado.
Exactly. And in this hearing, the record number of petitions and testimonies for anything that the Secretary of State had done in the past was 17. This past August, there were 1,400 petitions that were submitted. She did not allow all of these petitions to be publicly recorded, and there was supposed to be public testimony for 2 hours originally. Then there were so many people who were there to orally testify, there was an additional 4 hours. Then it was supposed to go on to another day, and in between the Tuesday hearing, they were going to take Wednesday off and continue on Thursday. On Wednesday, she cut it off and did not allow any more public testimony and did not allow any more petitions to be submitted that were supposed to be allowed until August 10th. So she's grabbed power and stuff.
Does the state of Colorado belong to the citizens of Colorado, or does it belong to Jenna Griswold?
Well, you know, when the Constitution assigns the election to the legislature, the legislators in the state are the closest publicly elected officials to the people. That's why the Constitution gives that power to the legislators. It seems to me, as we're talking, because I'm talking to legislators around the country, and most of those, that authority or that responsibility has been slowly over time shifted to an executive branch function, the executive branch. But really, it is our legislatures and our legislators that have that constitutional power. And I think it's time for you guys, and I know Senator Borelli and Representative Fincham, these guys are on the forefront of like, no, this is a legislative responsibility granted by the Constitution, and we're pulling it back. So that's, I think, is the message to our closely elected officials here. I mean, that's the message. We've got to pull back the reins and realize that is the constitutional remedy. Anyway, I won't get on a soapbox. Ron, you're clicking around. What are you seeing up there as you're digging?
I'm still looking for logs There's logs everywhere.
Are there less logs after than there were before?
Yeah, there are less logs after than there were before. Because it seems like they wiped the machine somehow. Probably with the method. Oh, here's the keys.
I'll tell you what, that's kind of an interesting one. Look at this file on the right.
Yeah, I left that up there
interesting.
because
Critical restrictions disabled. And this is an old
it's
batch
called
file.
de-hardening.
What does that say? De-hardening? Why would we
Yeah,
de-harden?
remove restrictions.
Hold on. Oh, look at this. So we're de-hardening something with relating to Dominion voting systems. EMS settings. De-harden. Why are they removing security from this server?
No idea. And I didn't see a hardening script, so.
Look at this. Removing security restrictions. Right there. 10/19 of 2020.
That was bad.
This is why they don't want us to see this.
So is that the same SQL server management system that was found in Antrim? Is that an authorized piece of software, that SQL?
We should check that actually. If anyone has access to Antrim servers, that would be a really good thing to check and see if this same code here is there, and see if the restrictions have been removed on that one also.
This is just a, what do you call it? It's just a...
And it's written as a batch file, and that means someone wrote that on purpose. That is not something that even Microsoft would have provided, because if Microsoft is providing some type of a patch to a late system like this, they don't use batch files. Batch files are back from the old DOS days, about 20, 30 years ago.
That's right.
And now look at what they're also doing here.
files.
They're stopping SQL Server, and then they restart SQL Server. So look at this, SQL Server de-hardening. I'll tell you what, I'd be pissing my pants right now if I was Dominion, seeing this right here. SQL Server de-hardening, right there.
It's present on both. De-hardening restrictions. So that's weird.
I know next door in the cyber breakouts, we had some guys who were the registry experts, so I think they're downloading that. I'm going to take this mic off and walk over there and just see what they're seeing. Be right back. So if anybody has a question, I'll leave this mic with Mark. Come up to the stage and Mark will give you this.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a computer guy. I don't know what most of this stuff means, but I've been researching this election since November 3rd, and I can tell you right now that everything we're seeing right here, we saw in Antrim County. The adjudication logs being deleted. It was absolutely censored by the media. Most people don't know that this isn't anything new. We've seen it in Antrim County, we've now seen it in Maricopa County, and we're now looking at it with our very own eyes in Colorado. What does Colorado matter? Why are they attacking Colorado? We need to wake up as people, and you, the cameras in the back there, not all of you, but the CNNs of the world, you guys need to start reporting this and stop fact-checking it.
By the way, what we're looking at, if you will recall, what we're looking at are two forensic images of machines in Mesa County, before and after a Dominion update. Who was here last night? Tina from Colorado, right, clerk? This is exactly the kind of funny business she wants investigated. which is why she is taking a stand against all the other clerks in her state, and why her offices were raided yesterday, and why she's here with us today, and she's basically coming out and saying she's going to take a stand against this. The fact that we've already found this vindicates her questions, at least, right? At the minimum, this raises good questions. Oh yeah, can you come around and come on up? So we've been working in the state of Wisconsin with Lindell and one of her colleagues to help her do this audit in Wisconsin, and she's been submitting subpoenas and whatnot. We helped her learn her own laws that allow her to subpoena certain things, so she's actually working under state law. Now, keep in mind, what is this? What is this? This is
Hoping I can
going around the
raid,
country
whatever
saying,
this is.
we're going to
Make some gold and
update
health.
your computer. We're going to update your voting machines, right? They're saying we're going to update them. But what really happens is their disk goes from being partitioned into 2 pieces into 4 pieces. And when you partition the disk, you're essentially erasing the disk and re-imaging the whole thing, right? We also noticed that they deleted all the logs when they did that. We also noticed that they deleted all the SQL databases when they did that, yes? So in other words, all the past election information, how the ballots were going to be read, how the ballots were configured, how the databases, the SQL databases, that's basically how you store data, has been erased. So those no longer there anymore. Now, our buddy here from, tell us your name again.
Timothy Rampton, representative for the 59th in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I met him last week when I was there with Janelle in her office. You guys are awesome. Gave a great speech. So tell us what's happening in Wisconsin right now. You just voted on something?
Well, actually, I got quite alarmed with the presentation regarding the evidence I was seeing for the first time. I got here all day yesterday, and I'm hearing statements about we got this and we got that, and I'm like, show me what you got, because I've got to take something back to leverage to get something to move forward. There's some key people here from Wisconsin today. I don't know if they were in the room at the time, but I'm going to make sure I talk with Mr. Gableman about what we just saw up here. And when I saw up here about what Dominion was doing to the logs to basically CYA the situation for these machines, I found this gentleman and I said that we have a concern because we've got to get this detail out and focused on this. So I wanted to speak briefly about where Wisconsin's at. We've got a gentleman from the Wisconsin Elections Commission here today. His name is Bob Spindell. And Bob informed me that on June 21st, Dominion asked Wisconsin's Election Commission if they could come in and update all the machines for Wisconsin.
Boom, June 21st, Dominion asks you if they can come in and update all the machines in Wisconsin, June 21st.
And they took a vote, and the vote passed 4-2. There you are.
They took a
vote. The vote passed 4-2. So right now, okay, let me be real clear about something here, ladies and gentlemen. What I want removed from the discussion about this overall problem we have in our country is I want conspiracy and conjecture out. I want fact and truth to end it. I want closure. My constituents want closure. I believe my assembly body wants closure. We need closure everywhere in our country, okay? So please understand my passion and my energy is about that and that alone. It doesn't matter, as I heard from other members here speaking on the stage, who wins, who loses. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is, do we have integrity in our process so that going forward from 2020, we can feel comfortable with 2022 and 2024 and so on, right? Okay, so having said all that, if I'm told that Dominion is currently in the process of scrubbing the machines in my state, I've got a big problem with that. And the first thing I want to do is, how do I stop that right now in its tracks? How do I stop that to prevent further damage from occurring so that we can continue the process of a true, full forensic investigation to get the facts out to find closure? So that's what I wanted to say to the doctor. He said, come on up and speak at it. I don't know what else to say other than I'm going to be looking for some help from some key people to answer the question, how can we stop the carnage on the machines right now to protect our state from further damage to get to closure?
I'm going to answer your question right now. Okay, here's what you need to do. Get a forensic image of every server before they walk in the door. Every server, every system they have.
He needs a
hire a
forensic
company to do a forensic image of every single one of them before they make a single change.
Okay.
Don't let them in until you have done the forensic image of every machine.
I would hope that perhaps the WC could help leverage that, since they were asked the question, they took the vote. There should be a condition, there should be a statement of work, there should be some sort of agreement, right?
Great point. You just had the vote. They voted to allow Dominion to do that, but maybe you have to go back and say, but by the way, before we allow you to do that, we require a forensic image first, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes, I think another individual in the room, I won't call him
So
out
is it
yet,
too
but-
late? I mean, that was
I
June.
hope not.
I mean,
hope
June,
not.
July, August, I mean, we're already 60 days into it.
If we just found this out 5 minutes ago, I hope in 5 minutes I'll have an answer to the question. So.
Well, it may be
It would
too late.
take one day to forensically image those systems. I actually have 2 forensic imagers in my suitcase right now. It is not difficult.
All right, so this is why we need to work with our legislators. So if you're back in your state and Dominion says, we're going to come in and update all your machines, you could say, that's just fine, but you have to wait until our guys come in and do forensic images of everything, because we have to preserve it. This is super important for our legislators.
It's their duty to preserve it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Yeah.
Thank you.
Error log.
By the way, this is exactly, we would not be in this situation right now except for Tina. So she's a hero. Somebody had a question I saw. Yes, sir.
Come, Mike.
How can they come in and wipe it out when they're supposed to keep the records for 22 months? That's your question. They're obviously breaking the law. Except they might be saying to their county clerks, back it up first. So they might be saying it's not our responsibility to maintain the records for 22 months. It's your responsibility. And by the way, we're going to come in next Tuesday and re-update all your machines, and we recommend that you back them up before then. So they might be saying that to protect themselves legally. I don't know. I'm hypothesizing. And that's not completely true, because I did hear some discussions to that effect. But how many people know how to do forensic backups of their machines? And so that's, our legislators are kind of hanging out there. This is so technical.
I got some emergency news here. I just got notified that it was just discovered that 2 Dominion employees work at the Sacramento County Voter Registrar Office. Why would Dominion employees be working at one of our voter offices?
To make it easy to update the machines.
It was no, they're working there. It was confirmed at a board of supervisor meeting.
Yeah.
I gotta take this call.
Yeah, okay, good. Hooray. I think we just equipped our legislators with one key point, yes? Yeah, are you coming up here? No, okay. Yes, dear? Yeah. Gotcha, yes. I'm not an elections expert. What's that? He wants to scroll. Hey, Ron, can you scroll the right side to the right so they can see the rest of that line? Yeah, that stuff. Can you? Yeah, thank you. That's what you wanted? This isn't what I thought I was going to be doing today, but I'm glad to be doing it with you.
Remove restrictions.bat. It sounds bad.
Remove restrictions.bat. A .bat file is a batch file, which means that when you run a batch file, it does a set of steps on your computer. Like go in, and like this one's called remove restrictions. So what it probably does is it goes in and takes off restricted access to various files.
Yeah, but look, this is not just a default bat file. No, this is custom made for Dominion EMS. You see it there, right?
I see it there.
Yeah, it's not some problem with the section here.
So if they run that batch file remotely, suddenly
It's
they'll have
custom made.
all access to all whatever they've removed restrictions from.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it seems to be removing restrictions. SQL Server dehardening, overriding this.
And it looks like it's giving access to the SQL Server. Did you just say boom?
It does look like that, but I'm not a bat programmer, so I mean that's what it looks like.
It removes access. It allows access to the SQL Server on.
Well, are there any bat programmers here that are good at writing batch files that can run us through this line by line?
By the way, I noticed that the command takes place in the background, quiet, which means nobody can see it actually happening on the output screen. So when this software runs, it's not seen.
I mean, it looks like that's what it's doing, but
Hey, by a show of hands, how many people here have actually talked with or worked with Dominion or other electronic voting system companies? Just curious. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are your experiences with them that they're kind of running the show, or are they just helping provide software and hardware so you can run the show? I'm curious. If you guys have any comments regarding that, I would love to have your input.
Hey, Mark, just over next door, and the crews are looking at some of this. At least probably half of the guys looking at these tables. And Ron, one of the things they saw was the adjudication key.
Yeah, the adjudication
on the
key.
desktop.
Yes.
So there's the adjudication key is actually on the desktop.
The adjudication key should never be sitting out on the desktop of that system.
So is that
because all you have to do is touch it, and then you're adjudicating all ballots.
Not necessarily, but the fact that there's a key there is that you might be able to use that key on other systems to manipulate adjudication. So it warrants a lot more investigation. Can they come up and talk to me?
It's hard.
The guys I know several of the legislatures have been asking to go over and talk to the cyber guys. They're deep in, but this afternoon they say if y'all want to go and ask